Sport Radio. Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.
Hello and good evening. This is the Superbike Show, and we are back live. A lot to talk about, a lot to get through, a lot of championships to debate and discuss, and whose fault was it, and who's going to win it, and lots of different other BSB permutations that, we've got to try and shoehorn into a very packed show tonight. We don't even have time to talk about World Superbikes, which is all pretty well and good, really, because I didn't even watch it. I was at Donington Park getting absolutely soaking wet, as was Lewis Ray as well, and he was camping and quickly made the decision that it was pretty bad to go camping at Donington Park after he'd been offered a hotel room to avoid himself. But we'll talk a bit more about Lewis and his broken tent later on. Jay King on the show tonight. Hello, good evening, Jay. How are you?
Hello, Lester. I God knows where we're even going to start tonight's show with everything that happened, not just in BSB but also in MotoGP as well.
Well, a good place to start is the beginning.
Yes.
Usually is. But yeah, we've got lots to talk about. MotoGP coming up a lot later on. Main headlines tonight, BSB. At around 8:30 tonight, about 25 minutes or so, Harrison Dessoy from the British Talent Cup is going to be here on the show to talk about his life, his career, what he's doing next year. He's already told me, but I don't know if he'll tell you that. And to be honest, I forgot what he even told me at the weekend. So, yeah. Anyway, but 9 o'clock we'll have a review of the CRMC, the Classic Motorcycle Racing Club. They had their final round of the season at Croft at the weekend. We'll have Ben Robinson on the show in around an hour to review everything that went on, all the good stuff that goes on in that Club Racing Championship. And then we'll talk about MotoGP. A lot to talk about. So, Lewis, shall we begin? Whew, a BSB then. Did anything happen?
I don't know. I haven't seen too much on social media from the weekend from BSB, but it was an extremely exciting weekend at BSB. The final round of 25 points before we go into 35 points at Brands Hatch. And, well, it was dramatic to say the least. I mean, race one, Ryan Vickers, I should say, took the race win at Donington Park, while then in race two, Kyle Ryde, the other side of the garage, he took the race win in that one. And then the final race of the weekend, Jason O'Halloran took the race win. So 3 different race winners, first of all, in the weekend, and mixed conditions, and actually 3 very different conditions in every single race, if you think about it. On the Saturday, with the throne race. On the Sunday morning, with the throne race. And the Sunday afternoon, with the throne race. Now, the biggest talk point from the weekend was the 2 PBM Ducatis inside the pit box. Leaving this round, it was 7.5 points is the gap between Tommy Bridewell and Glenn Irwin, with Glenn Irwin scoring 0 points at Donington Park. And, of course, the small incident at the weekend came in race 2, where both the PBM Ducatis came together, and Tommy Bridewell and Glenn Irwin both crashed out of the race, and it sparked some debates on social media, to say the least. And as well, leaving the round, we have Kyle Ryde and Leon Haslam just 35 and 41 points behind, and they could potentially be back in the running for the championship heading into the final round at Brands Hatch. So mixed conditions, controversy between teammates, and now it could potentially be more than just 2 riders that can battle for this title at Brands Hatch, realistically.
Yeah, a lot's happened, and Glenn Irwin, I think he posted a video yesterday saying it was the first time, I think, ever, or maybe the second time in his most recent BSB career, that he'd never actually scored a point over a weekend. So, a bit disappointing. But yeah, Jay, a shocker for Paul Bird's team. And, you predicted it last week. It's all going to kick off, so it's your fault, really.
I don't think any of us, we both all predicted who we thought we would win at the weekend, but I don't think any of us could predict what really happened this weekend. They're the two riders that keep giving at the moment, don't we? Every round, we don't think it could get any more outrageous, but it just keeps getting more outrageous. God knows what's going to happen at Brands Hatch, but yeah. It was so weird, like both of them in that first wet race, or shall we say damp race on Saturday, both went with risky tyre choice, shall we say.
Well, the wrong tyre choice.
Neither of them really, I think they came last and won from last, or I don't think even Glenn finished in the end. Yeah. And then Saturday, they both have got, I think Glenn had to start 12th, didn't he? And Tommy was at the back. They both came through the field extremely quickly. Then the rain started. Then the whole pack just got all together. There must have been about 10 of them in that front pack. It was more like a Moto3 race. And they go into the hairpin. Too many riders trying to go into one corner. Tommy was going to run into the back of Kyle Ryde. He tried to move out of the way. And he hit Glenn Irwin, and you couldn't write this stuff, could you? It's just unbelievable. But yeah, great racing. And then in the last race, Glenn broke down, and Tommy, I think the rumours is that he was having visor problems, and that's why he dropped back. So yeah, for both of them riders, between both of them to only score, I think it was 8 points, wasn't it? 8 or 7 points?
7.5.
Yeah, 7.5 points.
8 points, yeah. 8 points between the two riders, 7.5 points separating them.
You couldn't write it. And once again, it's going to go to this last round. And we talk about this like it's only between Tommy and Glenn. It could be really funny that we're talking about who's going to win the championship out of these two. It could land up being neither of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's God knows where this is going to go.
Well, yeah. I'm sure you're probably feeling maybe a tiny bit guilty, Jay, because you did actually say, you did literally predict this scenario. It was all going to kick off, but we made some predictions on last week's show, and I can't honestly remember off the top of my head exactly who we said.
I did say Kyle Ryde would win one, so yeah. I'm going to take that.
Okay. Who else did we say? Lewis, you've probably got a better memory than me.
He did say Ryan Vickers, I think I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Did you? Leicester?
I think that was the less. No, I think I said Ryan Vickers.
I'll take that. No, I said it.
No, okay. Yeah, I had it to you, but yeah, no one really could have predicted what happened at the weekend. And to be honest, even to get one or two things right from the weekend, prediction-wise, I think it's pretty good because, well, first of all, in that first race, no one could predict. Actually, every single race this weekend, it seems like the rain decided to properly come down when BSB was starting. It wasn't that bad for the rest of the other classes, but each time BSB came onto the grid, the rain definitely started, and that was definitely the case in race one, where you had people making pit stops in British Superbikes, which was extremely exciting in itself. But because of those pit stops and because of those tyre changes, like Tommy Bridewell, which made a late tyre change in race one, that forced him to get put to the back of the grid. So, it was a weekend of unknowns, to say the least.
I don't know how thrilling and exciting a pit stop was, but
it's rare. It's rare we get to see a pit stop, and to see teams do it under pressure, and bikes and stuff. That's not really they're not used to doing pit stops weekend in, weekend out. So it's a new element anyway to the race.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one person who I think actually just forgot he was no longer on the factory Honda in race number 3, Franco Born. In all fairness, I think we did say he would be at the back for most of the weekend on that path. What was it called?
Halfway.
Lewis? Yeah,
halfway, but the halfway specification back
marking bike. But no, it wasn't. Franco, maybe someone told him he had like a super special upgrade or something like that. Because he did all right, didn't he, in the end?
Yeah, it was super impressive. In race one, actually, he finished in 6th position on the pathway machine. So, yeah, incredibly impressive from Franco Born. Obviously, with it being almost essentially a super stock bike with Motec electronics, which i.e. no electronics on the machine. They had slightly less power, and they seemed to be able to use that to his advantage, and obviously his ability and skill, because it was extremely tricky conditions in race 1 for the riders. Very, very wet by the finish of the race, and well, he made the right tyre choice, and he stayed on 2 wheels, which is achievement in itself, and he finished in front of some very, very big name riders as well. Well, for example, Alex Olsen on the other Pathway machine, he was down in 22nd position in the race. So it wasn't down to just the fact he was on the Pathway machine. So yeah, extremely impressive from Franco Born, and that will be his best BSP result of the season. It wasn't even on a BSP bike.
Yeah, bit embarrassing for the factory Honda team, but well, maybe
there were some really weird results in that race, though. It was good to see Luke Mossey back on the podium after I think about 6 years, I think he said. So yeah, that was really good to see.
Louis Vallely
as well, coming 10th place, and where he's only recently got on the Superbike, coming all the way from stock 600. So another really good result. It really, it was really weird results. People deciding if they were going to go for the harder wet, the softer wet, or going intermediates. We obviously saw the problem the PBM guys had with going full intermediates. So yeah, some really weird results. But Vickers, he obviously had confidence from just the lights going green, because he just pulled a massive gap straight away. And took a pretty comfortable win, even though Haslam did set the fastest lap. It was too late the time he had got through.
On it like a car bonnet was our Vickers. One rider I thought had I'll be honest, a disappointing weekend, and he'll probably admit that himself. Lee Jackson, not where he usually is, or was, or should have been, maybe. Couldn't.
Yeah,
tell.
He
was always in the mix. It was just not quite there, was he? But. No. With what you always get with Lee Jackson, whether it's a good day or a bad day, he'll always get you solid results. So I think he would just say it was some good solid results, but probably not his best.
Fair enough. And
it was all right. It was all right in race 2, to be fair, for Jackson. A 4th place finish there, but the rest of the weekend was kind of what we've seen for the whole season, really, for Kawasaki machines, and they were just there or thereabouts, and in the lower end of the top 10.
Fair enough. Okay, so not too bad a weekend for Lee Jackson, or maybe he'd disagree with that. But I had him up for a podium, to be honest. At least one. Oh well, maybe someone said he might be up for a win. I can't remember who. Wasn't me. But yeah.
Definitely
anyway,
wasn't me.
No, might have been Jay. So,
I was right, and I got it right. I'm sticking with it.
So the championship then, Tommy Bridewell leading by basically, I mean, that's not the big story, to be honest, although Tommy Bridewell has jumped back into the lead, but only by, 7.5 points, is it? The big story really is that Kyle Ryde and Leon Haslam have both caught right up to him, and Leon Haslam would have been even closer had he have finished race number 3 and his engine, or what we think is his engine, had not have blown up. So again, Leon Haslam, fantastic race weekend. You'd think so anyway, because it's his home track, basically. He knows it like the back of his hand. And so we're going into the final round, where just a few rounds ago we thought it's going to only be between Bridewell and Irwin. It's definitely just the PBM bikes, but maybe not. Whilst those two are just squabbling and slapping each other with their handbags, Kyle Ryde could sweep past them, or Leon Haslam, or it could be O'Halloran, or maybe Lee Jackson, if he pulls out a couple of good results at Brands Hatch. It's all to play for, Lewis. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited going into the final round. We don't have to wait long either. We only have to wait, it's not this weekend, next weekend, and then we'll be getting ready for the final round of the weekend. So not too long to wait to watch it, but who knows? Kyle Ryde, he's 35 points behind, and 35 points is going to be the amount that you're going to get for one race win. So, for example, if both PBMs are out with the points, like we've seen at the weekend in tricky conditions,
very possible,
or if they make mistakes and or even have a mechanical, like we see with Glenn Irwin in race 3, and then Kyle Ryde, if he wins it, he'll be right back into the mix. It could potentially even be tied with championship lead after after race 1 if the PBM boys were to have some bad luck. So yeah, the championship is definitely not over yet. And as you said about Leon Haslam, incredibly disappointing, and he does know the circuit like the back of his hand, of course, with Ron Haslam's race school, which used to happen just a couple of years ago. So a huge shame for Haslam. He deserved a podium definitely in race 3. He had the pace for it, and it's just so disappointed to see what happened. And actually it was disappointing that it made the race end early as well. But who knows what's going to happen? You cannot predict BSB in 2023, and I definitely think this season in this final round is going to be another one of those final rounds like Tommy Hill and John Hopkins, like we're going to be talking about for years to come.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, fair enough. Your initial thoughts as well, Jay? You were also at Donington at the weekend, being you were there doing multiple capacities, brolly dolly at one point, I saw.
Yeah, I was just doing a bit of everything. Mostly, Lucas wanted like a video or a vlog done, so his mum asked me to do it ages ago, and because it was his last round, they're not sure if that is going to be his last round in British Talent Cup. I kind of had to do it for this one. But yeah, it was a mega weekend to watch all the classes, really. It was a lot of good racing, all of them, Super Sport, obviously British Talent Cup and the Junior Super Sport, but BSB, we don't know how it's going to go. We don't even know if Tommy or Glenn could win it, because I would have thought Brands Hatch mid-October, weather conditions are probably going to be the same as they were at Donington this weekend. It's probably going to be a mixed bag as well, which is going to throw another massive spanner into the works. So, no one can call it. I still think, even though he scored nil points this weekend, I still think Glenn's going to do it. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
So despite just saying no one can call it and no one knows what's going to happen, he just predicted it.
Glenn. Okay. Let me rephrase that. I want Glenn Irwin to win it.
Oh, favouritism. Wow. Hello. Who's that?
Everyone has their favourite, don't they?
No, I don't.
We haven't even spoke about the incident yet.
Okay.
Like, what's all our views on it?
Well, okay, yeah. So there was a small little incident in race number 2. And, basically, if you haven't seen it, and we're just guessing that you have seen it.
If you live under a rock.
I had to watch it back. I didn't even see it live. I was busy doing, I was getting ready for the Talent Cup, because that was the race after that one. So I was making my way to the pits. And then all of a sudden I heard, screaming and shouting from the crowd. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? And then I just guessed. And I turned around and I said to my colleague, that's Tommy Bridewell. He's done something. That sneaky so-and-so. And then, I hate to be right all the time, but Lewis, tell us what happened.
Nothing really much happened though. Going into the Melbourne hairpin, Tommy Bridewell outbraked himself ever so slightly, and trying to take avoided action. He's swerved almost to the left to try and not hit into the back of Ryan Vickers, which could potentially knock down another couple of riders, to be honest, if he didn't. So swerved to the left to try and take some sort of avoided action, and it ended up his teammate was right there, ploughed into the back of him, and both of them went smashing into the tarmac. And then Glenn Irwin, after the crash happened, tried to have a little scrap in the grass and then a scrap inside the garage as well. He was not happy, to say the least. The shutters went down in the garage, and that was the last that we've seen of them. And speaking to them post-race, I was at circuit, so Larry Carter interviewed both the riders eventually, but Tommy initially, after the incident, he did say that he wasn't happy with Glenn Irwin's tactics throughout the race. He was claiming that he was shutting the throttle halfway down the straights and midway through corners, and basically said he was riding dangerously.
What, as though he was racing in the slippery, wet conditions?
The way I looked at it as well, though,
wait, he accused someone else of riding dangerously?
Well, yeah.
This is the person who braked in front of everyone.
Yeah, he did take full responsibility again. He took probably 98% responsibility, it seems, for this one. So a bit higher than last round, I'll give him that one. But the way I look at it is, to be honest, if I think I know this is ifs and buts, but if that crash didn't happen there at the Melbourne hairpin, I think eventually we would have seen an incident. The way the guys were riding, how close everyone was, how tricky the conditions were, it was almost becoming inevitable. I mean, those PBM boys were not giving each other an inch on each other. They would happily let go of the brake, run each other wide. They would do anything to be in front of each other. So yeah, it was an extremely exciting race. I was in the crowd at the time when the crash happened, and everyone just absolutely exploded, whether you're Irwin, Bridewell, or even a neutral fan. I mean, it's definitely going to be a showdown, to say the least, even though we don't have a showdown this year.
Well, yeah, we're already in it. We're in the eye of the storm. But not to overhype everything too much. But to be absolutely fair to Tommy, he did phenomenally well up to the point where he took Glenn Owen out. Because he started last
from the back.
Yeah, he started dead last, and he came steaming through in the uncertain, very tricky conditions, and then it started to rain. The rain started to get a little bit heavier and a bit heavier, so there's more uncertainty. How much grip is... I mean, everyone seems to love that brand new Donington surface, like amazing. Everyone absolutely loves it. So whilst everyone else was kind of tiptoeing around, Tommy Bridewell was just steaming through there, and he did phenomenally well to get himself up into podium contention up until the point where he wasn't anymore. But yeah, so big credit to and a shout out to him. We always try and look at the positives here on this show. I suppose that was the only positive, and he gave us something to talk about, so that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I think because of the rain, it was kind of like every time someone got to the lead, there was rain on the visor, and they were like, all right, I can't really go any faster than this. And then as soon as someone's behind you, you're like, yeah, I can get back in front here. And every time someone took the lead, someone else then wanted to take the lead because they think, right, we can go quicker in these conditions than what we can. So it was proper Moto3 stuff. It was, you would never think that was a Superbike race. It was just, I've never seen a British Superbike race like it. Never, ever. But it was brilliant. And roll on Brands Hatch. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, definitely. It's, is it? I don't know. Are we overhyping things a bit too much? But we said that this time last week. Are we going to make too much of it? Maybe it'll be a just boring race. I have a feeling.
I think at some point there is going to be one of those three races at Brands Hatch is going to be kind of like it was at Donington. It's going to be a bit of, are we going inters? Are we going hard wets? Are we going soft wets? With this time of year in England, I think we're pretty sure we're going to get one of those sort of races where it's maybe not going to be down to the rider. It's maybe getting that correct tyre choice.
Possibly. We'll try and get your predictions on what might happen later on, but in BSB...
I'm not doing any predictions for this Brands weekend. Not at all. I know we've got another show before then, but I'm not doing any predictions.
Okay, well, Liam Hodgins has been on. Hello, Liam. Good evening. Live from Spain. And he says, bold prediction, well, he says in a Scottish accent, bold prediction, he says, Leon Haslam's going to be champion. Tommy and Glenn will wipe each other out in one of the races, and Ride will suffer misfortune, and Haslam will be squeaky clean. 3 podiums and just edge it over the line with no race wins in the year. So says Liam Hodgins. So
imagine winning the championship and not winning a race. I don't know how you celebrate that.
I think he'll find a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, what will that? I'm just thinking of what the fans might think. I mean, like,
I'm just thinking this well because I think it goes all the way down to Christian Idden can still win the championship. And there's 6 in total, I think.
Well, it depends what you think mathematically or actually. I believe it's actually 8, if I remember correctly, that can mathematically win the title.
Realistically, though.
8 people. That means there's a company somewhere that have got to make 8 winning championship T-shirts up in different designs, if you know what I mean. Because they have to do it, don't they? Even if it's like mathematically. So there's going to be a lot of burnt T-shirts at the end of that race meeting, isn't there? Because, they've all got to be printed off. That's amazing to think, isn't it? Whatever happens to those T-shirts, I wonder, are the people who get them all printed off and then they don't win the championship.
Don't know, maybe you could pick a couple up on the market.
Yeah.
Do people still go to markets? Anyway.
No.
So, right, anyway, racing, and yeah, BSB, yeah, wow. Was you surprised and shocked? And did you actually predict what was going to happen like Jay did last week? And he predicted accurately that everything was going to kick off, it's going to get messy, and it did. And
I don't actually remember saying that.
Well, paraphrasing a lot of stuff. It was in the spirit of those kind of words, but yeah, you could almost see it coming, really, couldn't you? Really, with Tommy starting last in race number 2, and yeah, I mean, where did he get up to in race 3? I mean, there was so much going on over the weekend.
He got third, I think, before visor problems started. I think.
Right. Yeah. And was that officially confirmed? That's what it was. His visor problems.
I've heard rumours. I don't know if it's officially true.
Is it strong rumours?
Well,
I'm going to predict the total opposite for Brands Hatch. Then I reckon it's going to be like a really good race, really like gentle and well behaved, and whoever wins the championship, they're going to come in, have a massive hug and say, "Oh, well done, mate, you deserved it." Yeah, it's all just going to be peaceful and lovely, and yeah, that's how it's going to go.
What's the chances maybe that it's going to be the opposite of that? That we're going to see maybe one of the riders go thundering down, crashing into the ground in a blaze of sour grapes. Who does that sound most like? Anyway.
How many broken bones will there be by the end of the week?
None, because we wish everyone the best.
Optimism there.
Yeah. But whatever happens, please do not be a dick on Facebook and social media, because we're all here to enjoy racing.
That would never happen.
No. We realise everyone's got their favourite riders and they want everyone to do well, obviously. But, yeah, no need to, take it too far. If you can't disagree politely with people without threatening to kill someone, then I think you've had too much internet for one day. Basically, that's the general rule I have. When I find myself issuing, various death threats and stuff, I think, time for bed, Lester. So, just a general rule that you might want to adopt, insane people of other BSB fans groups. Not mine. But anyway, so yes, BSB and...
covered.
Pretty much. Well, not really in any way, shape or form. But
we've got all these support classes. We have more champions to announce.
Yeah, we're not even talking about them. As well as, we will just briefly talk about the British Talent Cup, because I was there, was on monitoring it and following the riders' progress over the season. And, it was, as predicted, it did come down to pretty much the first race, really. Sullivan Mounsey had a mathematically chance of winning, but it was a long shot. It was an outsider, and for me the terrible irony is that the exact same thing that happened to other riders when Sullivan Mounsey crashed in that corner at the last time we were at Donington, like round 2, I think it was, or whatever it was. He was then the victim of an incident by an unfortunate incident by our next guest, but we're not going to dwell on that. It meant basically that he was instantly out of the championship. Evan Belford went on to take the victory, but more importantly, just as equally as impressive as Evan Belford taking that championship on the first race on the Saturday was that we had two brand new winners, two brand new people on the podium in the RNG British Talent Cup at the weekend. Race number 1, it was won amazingly, and I don't think he even believed it at first. Filip Sorowiak, who'd been consistent, I won't say struggled, but he'd been consistently not where he wanted to be, let's say. For most of the season, and he not quite got the setup right on. There's one thing going against him seemingly every round, but amidst all the chaos and the confusion, Well, no, actually, it's not even that. He had the pace. He was leading on merit. It wasn't some sort of freak, where everyone sort of had a big pile-up or anything. He actually fought his way to the front, and he stayed there. Because we all did an amazing double take. We were like, whoa, Filip Soroviak leading? What? But yeah, no disrespect. But certainly it was a fantastic first podium for him. And wow, if you don't know, basically, Filip Soroviak's father is probably one of the most passionate people in the entire BSB paddock, Dominic. And, I could sense, we were sort of filming, I could sense as well that he'd be bouncing up and down the pit lane. He was in tears. He was going around kissing everybody. And, I've got footage of it as well. I post it on social media. It was an amazing moment. Everyone was really, really happy, except Mounsey, of course. That was just the first race as well. In race 2, Lewis, just tell us what happened.
Yeah, in race 2, it was another unexpected winner, I think, to say the least. I don't think many people would have predicted him to certainly be on the top step of the podium. We did talk about him potentially going to be on the podium, but it was Ronnie Harris who won in race 2, and he won by 6.5 seconds at the line. But at one point, he was leading by about 10 seconds, if not over 10 seconds. So he just settled back the pace in the final couple of laps, and then 6.5 still over Sullivan Mountsy and Evan Belford, 1 and 2 in the championship, behind Ronnie Harris in the final race of the year. So it was extremely wet conditions for them. Actually, I think the rain just kept getting heavier and heavier for race 2, but Ronnie Harris won it, and he was absolutely delighted. I don't think he could have believed it himself, and he took home some nice winnings to spend with a bunch of sweets, I think it was, in his interview. So great for the family. And to think Ronnie Harris himself was only racing at Fab in the MotoGP 70 Championship last year, made his debut at Snetterton in the British Talent Cup class.
Oh, yeah.
And then straight away, at the end of his final full season in the championship, he's on the top step of the podium. So extremely impressive stuff.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a fact that I'd actually forgotten about, to be honest, Lewis. That he was racing and riding in Fab only last year, and he did a wild card, like you say, at Snetterton and Donington as well last year. But his first full season, rocking Ronnie Harris. I'm going to try and make that nickname stick with him, but anyway, he was pretty much stunned. I was going to grab the interview that we did with him on the podium. He was almost speechless. He was shell-shocked. He'd not even considered winning a race, to be fair to him. But there he was. He wasn't, he was not only out in front leading a British Talent Cup race for the first time ever, but he was stretching away. He was pulling away with it. And I think he got like a 15-second gap in the end, to his credit. But he even had the sense to even just slow down towards the end, and I think he ended something like 11 seconds or so. I mean, I can't remember what the exact finishing position was, but yeah, Ronnie Harris, he did say he'd earned a few quid from that, from the prize money, which was
I love it, a true sport.
So he was looking forward to spending it on maybe a lot of sweets, who knows. We'll hopefully try and get Harrison Dessoy on to have a chat with him about his season, about his future maybe, and how the British Talent Cup has been going for him. But Jay, highlights for you over the weekend, for you, your personal highlights, what you were doing, because you were with Wendy as well.
Are we just talking about British Talent Cup, or are we talking about all the classes?
Yeah, what was the best bit of the weekend for you?
A lot of people have gone home at this point, but a guest we had on a few weeks ago now. It was good to see Finn Smart-Weeden win the British Junior Supersport class, the final ever race. And he had a really good, he just stuck in second place, kept the gap very nice to his total rivals behind him, and it was really good to see him win the final ever Junior Supersport Championship. He's worked really hard for it. Another rider that's come through Fab, through the 50s and 70s and the mini motos. So it was really good to see him win the championship. And it was also really good, I think it was on the Saturday race, to see Casey O'Gorman get a podium in the Supersport race. we all know how talented Casey is, but I don't think any of us really expected to see him get a podium on his first proper full weekend on the Supersport.
I did. I knew he'd get a podium. It's fantastic talent, absolutely no question about it, and it was just a matter of time. He's already been in 2 championships in BSB so far, and he's picked up 1 podium, and he's had a couple of races. Or was that his first race weekend, wasn't it?
Well, he was at Cadwell on it, but he got injured, didn't he, straight away? So it was his
proper couple of races.
It was his first BSB race start, actually, this weekend. He got injured at Cadwell and taken out on the warm-up lap at Thruxton.
Yeah.
So, I was very impressed. And he also did, you got to think that was probably his first time on a wet race, definitely on that R6. And I think he came 4th or 5th in the wet race on Sunday. So, 2 really good performances by Casey on a bike that he's had pretty much no time on. So, really impressive. And also Ben Curry won that championship on the 600. So, on the Ducati, sorry. A really good weekend. Yeah, so they're probably my highlights.
Yeah, and for you, Lewis, you were braving the elements with your broken tent and... Yeah,
the tent's now in the bin, first of all. And
did it turn into like an...
at home?
I decided to take it home, actually. I didn't want to be the person to make a decision to bin the tent. But, I had to wear 3 layers, first of all, on the Sunday. It was that wet. I still got soaked through on all 3 layers by the end of the Sunday. But on the Sunday as well, as Jay was saying about the final ever race for the Hell Performance British Junior Supersport Championship with Finn Smartweed winning it. It was a great race as well, and it's a shame as well about Lennon Dockett. He's a great friend of mine, and it was a shame not to see him win the title, but also great for Finn. He deserves it. But Lennon didn't even expect to be riding this weekend. I believe he had a fractured and a broken knee, so he did well to even make it to this weekend. He spent a lot of time in oxygen chambers just before it. But seeing Ronnie Harris as well on the top step of the podium in the British Talent Cup, always a highlight. And race 2, actually, if we just throw away that incident for the moment, race 2 in general, it was some cracking racing, actually, in British Superbikes. Extremely close. It was really hard racing, and it was, extremely exciting. And then that crash happened, and I think that's probably going to be the main thing, obviously, which is going to be remembered about that race, which is somewhat of a shame. But great to see Ben Curry as well win on the 900, but Rhys Irwin, Tom Befamos obviously absent racing at World Supersport at Portimao this weekend, so he wasn't there to race as well. And also, as a Scotsman, in the race 2 of the Superstock 1000 race, Lewis Farrell claiming the podium on the Aprilia as well, and actually had quite a fierce battle in race 1 with the returning Fraser Rogers as well. So, great to see. And who would have thought a Scotsman on the podium in the wet?
Well, why not? But as I said, we do have a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss and get through. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about all of the other different classes because we do have, as teased and mentioned earlier, we do have our first guest on from the RNG British Talent Cup. Please welcome Harrison Dessoy. Good evening, Harrison. How are you?
Good evening, guys. I'm fantastic. How are you?
We're well. How are you? Have you recovered, dried out from the weekend? How was it overall for you at Donington?
Yeah, the back home now. Obviously, safe and sound from a very wet Donington, especially on the Sunday. Excuse my bedroom as well. I haven't prepared very well with the untidiness. But
very messy.
No, Donington. It was for me. It was a very good weekend. I thought, although the results weren't necessarily the best, race 1 was pretty good. I was fairly strong until the accident. In not so good conditions, and then race 2 was equally as good. We had the dry setup at the start of the race because the rain obviously wasn't too heavy, so the conditions were good enough for a dry setup. And obviously the rain came heavier and heavier throughout the race, so that's the reason why we fell back a little bit. But again, it was a really good weekend. I thought happy to finish on that with I can confirm my last season in Talent Cup.
Oh, well, you are surprisingly, every time I look at the stats, I am shocked to see that you are 18 years old. And that's not saying anything negative. It's just that, well, so many of the people in the R&G British Talent Cup are a lot younger. So I think I'd always just presume you were also a lot younger anyway, because, you don't look 18 anyway. But, yeah, so since you mentioned it then, your last round was at the weekend in the British Talent Cup. What's next for you then?
There's definitely a few options at the moment. There's I have yet to sign and put the pen on the paper yet for any certain team, but it is very likely I'll be in the Sportbike Cup on the Yamaha R7 for next year in BSB. We have had a look at obviously the different routes of Supersport, the new Super Team class and the new Kawasaki ZX4. That was obviously just something to look at and to have an option, but yeah, it's likely you'll see me in the Sportbike paddock next year.
Okay, well, that's good to know that you've got that option, and good luck getting it all sort of boxed off and signed and completed and everything. Did you have options for other things? Because you did a couple of races in, Junior GP with Vision Track as well. Oh, no, sorry, it wasn't with that. It was with your existing team that you've just left, the Microlease Cresswell team. But yeah, was there any options to do anything in Europe?
Yeah, definitely. It was obviously it's a route I would have loved to take to go into the European Talent Cup or the Junior GP, but unfortunately, with the results I sort of had mid-season, it sort of steered me in the opposite direction. Just because obviously to run at the front and for teams to pick you like the Dorna funded ride that will be available for next year for some of the BTC riders, you need to be consistent, and obviously I didn't have that in the middle of the season, so it was a little bit tough, and that is a shame. But unfortunately, because it is so expensive, I don't have the funds to go into European Talent Cup for next year or Junior GP. Hence, racing in the UK is a little bit cheaper, which is why we've sort of taken that option. Yeah,
a lot of people just chatting to people over the weekend in the paddock saying that they're more than ever really struggling, to be honest, to put together a campaign for next season, and a lot of worried faces. We already know that a couple of teams have decided to shut up shop as well, and Steve Patrickson has decided to retire, as was announced on the Sunday night, on Monday, which was a surprise to me. I don't know if anyone else knew about that, but best of luck to him. So I mean, he's earned it, I suppose. Good old rest. But Lewis and Jay, any questions for Harrison?
I'll go first. Obviously, You've mentioned going to the new Super Sport class. Obviously, that's going to be brand new for everyone. So it's really good for you, for a perfect time for moving up a class, because it's not just going to be new for you. Everyone who gets on that bike is going to be new for. A little bit of a scary thing, but obviously there's going to be the main two makes are going to be the Aprilia and the Yamaha. Is it a bit worrying that maybe you might get on the wrong bike where the Aprilia, I'm sure BSB will make the regulations so it is pretty fair for everyone, but is it a bit worrying that maybe the Aprilia might have the upper hand over the R7 and you choose the wrong bike? Does that worry you a little bit?
I mean, no, not necessarily, because at the moment, obviously, we're not really sure of what the bike. Obviously, you can look at Moto America. I know it's a big class there at the moment, and the R7 did win the championship by about 3 points, I think. So it was very close. But for me, at the moment, there's no need to worry about it until it's round one next year, because there's no point worrying about it all through the winter, which could sort of put my riding off. So at the moment, I think even with the regulations of BSB and what they do with the sport bike class, the bikes will be pretty even. But no, definitely. I think even if the package isn't as strong as the Aprilia, I'm sure I can work around it and get some decent results on the R7.
Okay, and Lewis, any questions?
Yes. So, before we... staying on the subject, actually, of the Sportbike Championship next season, obviously, you're friends with loads of riders in the paddocks, loads of British Talent Cup riders, and I'm sure some other riders in different classes. Do you know of, obviously, without naming any names, but do you know of any or how many riders there will be going into that class next year? Do you know of many? Maybe even from the British Talent Cup that's also thinking about it, without naming any names, of course.
I can't say I know any at the moment. I have obviously a few of mine just from an educated guess of obviously the size of some riders and where they are in Talent Cup or in Junior Supersport next year. And then obviously, you've got a load of different guys from a load of different classes in BSB already. So I'm not sure what the numbers will be in the class in Sportbike next year. I'm sure you will see a few Junior Supersport riders more than Talent Cup progress into that class. But for me at the moment, no, I haven't got any news on who's moving forward yet.
And, well, before, obviously, that's next season. This season's just finished and, well, finishing 9th in the championship in 2023. A highly competitive class, a bit of a up and down season from you, especially that midpoint in the season. I think you'll definitely want to forget the likes of Knockhill and Snetterton. But how would you say your 2023 seasons went for you?
I think, no, I was at the end of, obviously, Donington last weekend. I spoke to the rider coaches, Matt Bolchin and Alex Baldolini, and all of us agreed that for me it was a fairly good and strong year. It is tough, obviously, with the lack of results mid-season. Obviously, like Knockhill at Brands, at Snetterton, and not having basically no point scoring finishes for 5 races. It's tough to sort of deal with at that certain time. But then again, it's like if I look back towards those certain rounds, I can take what I've learned from that, obviously, to not let expectation get the better of me, and then all that negative things, turn it into a positive and put that into next year. So if I'm in the same position again, it will be equally as hard, but obviously I know a much better way how to deal with it now, what to expect, and how it can affect you physically and mentally. So no, it was for me, taking the negatives, obviously turning that into a positive as much as I can. And taking the positives as well, with 2 race wins this year is the most I've ever got in a national championship. Lap record at Silverstone National, that was pretty good. And then obviously to climb back from that pit essentially in the middle of the season to get back on the podium at Alton and then to run at the front group at Donington, it was I'm really happy with this year and really excited for what is to come.
And at the start of the season, as you briefly mentioned there, you took 2 race wins of the first 4 races. What was it that allowed you to have such strong pace in the opening couple of races of the year?
I think the main thing I've obviously spoke to my family about is the mindset and how important that is, even at Talent Cup. It's obviously not a fast bike or not as fast as some of the classes in BSB. And you've basically got to go in and not really caring about what anyone else says, what anyone else thinks. All your main priority focus has got to be on yourself. And definitely, I think the difference between in my riding in general from last year to this year, it has changed dramatically. Obviously, I've done a lot of pre-season work, a little bit on the NSF, which has helped quite a lot. So on the race bike before this year, that definitely helped. But the main thing I think for me was just like not necessarily worrying about anything other than me.
And midpoint in the season, as well, as we spoke just as you came on, you did a couple of rounds in the ETC with the Vision Track team at Catalonia and at Portimao. Speaking about those 2 rounds, how was that experience racing in Europe at those circuits with such a competitive field against all those guys? Yeah,
it was very tough. It was obviously very new, but it was really difficult. But obviously I tried my hardest. I worked really well with the team. McCauley Webb, he runs that. He's the team manager there, and working with Grant Matthews. He's the crew chief for the team as well. Obviously I've done a bit with. It was quite handy because I did a bit of pre-season work with Grant as well. I sort of know him on a personal scale, which is and it was really good to see him. Obviously work with him for the first time at a race weekend. But getting used to the bike, getting used to the racing as well. It was a whole new experience, which I would definitely not forget. It was fantastic.
And obviously for people at home watching it or looking at it on photos, for example, it looks like you're racing on pretty much the same bike, but you're racing in British Talent Cup. But obviously you're on Bridgestone tyres over there, I believe, just for a start. So what was the hardest thing to adapt to by you racing over there in Europe compared to what you've been doing for the past couple of seasons in the British Talent Cup?
I think the main thing was just how fast the Europeans actually are. Obviously, people do say it is European Talent Cup, which it is, but it is essentially just a smaller version of the World Championships. You've got guys from all over the world coming into the ETC, which is a feeder class for the World Championships. So it's just, it really took me by surprise of, wow, how fast some guys actually are. So you've got Maximo. I was on track with Casey, who was just put it on the box in Supersport last weekend. You don't do that unless you've got a bit of speed. So it was good, very eye-opening. But it was really good for me to understand that, and again, it was just sort of use that to help me in the future.
And one final question for me before I hand over to Lester or Jay again. But before next season, obviously, you're moving to the new Sportbike Championship. Are you planning on getting any bike time, perhaps even towards the end of this year? Any late track days just to try and get a go in an R7?
Yeah, funnily enough, I'm actually I'm off to Valencia this weekend, which is very exciting. It was one of my sponsors is very kindly letting me ride one of his bikes at Circuit Ricardo Torno this weekend, which is sort of straight away kicking into winter training as soon as I can. So that'll be good. I'll just work on some riding style stuff. There's a few key bits that I was missing this year on the NSF. So obviously the focus straight away will be to work on that and just get prepped for next year.
Cool. All right. And Jay, do you have any other questions, Jay?
No, just to say, really good luck. I'm really excited about this new sports bike class. And it's going to be great because I think there's no age limit in this class. So we're going to see people like Harrison. I've heard rumours that John McGuinness may be in this class next year on a Honda Hornet sort of bike. So it's going to be great to see people like Harrison racing against extremely experienced people like John McGuinness. So I think it's going to be a great class, and just all the best over the winter, getting used to the new bike and going into next season.
Yeah, definitely. And we know you've got the speed, Harrison, when everything comes together, and you have had probably some of the most bad luck of any rider in the British Talent Cup this year. Probably Johnny Garnett has had more bad luck than you. But yeah, because you were right on it. You were there, like you say, Silverstone winning. And then what happened. Don't want to keep mentioning it. That you just went through a bit of a patch. But yeah, I mean, you've always had the speed, and you've always been sort of there or thereabouts. And for me, because I get to go around and talk to all of the riders in the paddock, and everyone seems to say roughly kind of the same sort of thing, that when they get to sort of your age, 18, and sort of larger kids, they all think, well, I'm not going to win because I'm too big and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. And it's always the same people who are actually racing at the front, normally fighting for podiums and winning and stuff, who are saying those things. So just goes to show that a lot of it's rubbish. It's all in your mind.
Definitely.
But you've done very well to have the career that you've got so far, and a graduate, of course, from Fab Racing as well, one of many people, and you're doing well to know where you're going next year, because not a lot of people do, Harrison. Favourite moment from the season for you? What was it? Favourite race?
Good question. I think it has to be Donington, race 2 at the start of the year, at round 2. That was definitely one of my favourites. It was obviously leading the race for majority of it. I think it was 12 or 14 laps. That was a lot of fun. It was a really good weekend. Obviously, FP1 was strong. FP2 was the same. Qualifying, it was the strategy was wrong with new tyres and stuff, and letting the track temperature build up. So we struggled a bit there. But in race 1, yeah, that was a bit of a shame getting hit by another rider. But yeah, no, honestly, it was and then to finish it off on race 2 with a win, it was really, really good. So no, yeah, for me that was the highlight of this year.
And not many people realise, people just watching BSB on TV, people can be forgiven for not really knowing just how much prep and behind the scenes work and coaching and training that goes on in the R&G British Talent Cup behind the scenes. A lot of people don't actually know that everybody does a track walk on the Thursday with the Dorna and MSVR rider coaches and takes notes and does lots of regular coaching through the weekend as well. So how much do you think that's helped you?
Yeah, I think definitely all this like essentially off the track work is 50% of the reason why I was at the front. Obviously, even a bit more. It's like 65% is the work you do away from the circuit, and obviously the other 35, good maths, just wanted to get that right, is on the track and doing your riding. So all the track maps, all the talking through with Matt and Alex before a session, after the session, understanding what I did right, what I did wrong, where I could improve for the next session. It's so important. Even if you want to reach to the top of your class, whatever you're in, whether it's Fab, whether it's on a mini moto, or whether it's in MotoGP, you'll see Marquez and Fabio, all their track maps in their garage, talking through with the team on how to make the bike better and how they can go faster. So again, it's all the stuff off circuit that is very important to take note of, so you can then progress and get a lot faster.
And do you have I suppose it might be a bit too, given the current climate of that we're in at the moment, everyone's just, I think, grateful to be even thinking about going racing next year, I think. But for you, do you have a long-term plan, a strategy in place, or is it just take things year by year and see what options are available?
At the moment, it's definitely take it step by step, year by year. It was because you never know what can be available to you in the next coming months. It's next year, if I'm doing well, I could be approached by one team that says, "Oh, do you want to come in this class?" Or at the end of the year, I might have nothing at all. So no, it's important to sort of stay in the now and what you're focused on, and then just if something comes up, then okay, you process that, you deal with it, and then you understand how that could help, if it's the right decision to make, and then you just take things as they come.
Well, it's been fantastic having a bit of an insight into what your behind-the-scenes activities are at a race weekend, and telling us a bit about what you'll be doing next year. And thank you as well for sticking with your technical problems as well at the beginning.
No worries.
So
thank you, Lester, for having me on. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, Jamie.
Cheers.
All right, and all the best for the future, Harrison Dessoy, a top talent, one to watch, and not the last time we'll be having him back on Motorsport Radio, because he's I'm pretty sure. Well, this new sport bike championship, I just wish they'd change the name of that. Call it like Thunder Wheels or something, but something more attractive than sport bike. Is that a thing?
Even just Super Twin, like the rest of the country has been calling it for the last 10 years, really. But I mean, whatever. I'm sure he will do pretty well. And did he actually mention the team? Did he say Yamaha, or did he? He said it'd be on the Yamaha, but no team as of yet that you can say.
Okay, fair enough. Well, he's not done the deal yet, so don't want to jinx it, do you, Harrison? But fair enough. Did we learn anything from that, Lewis, Jay, other than what a top lad he is? So
a very mature head, by the sounds of it, on a young body, shall we say. He was very well spoken, he's very methodical, isn't he? The way he talks and how he sets himself up for races and that. He's a very good professional.
Yeah, definitely. He's and if all else fails, if he doesn't find a budget for 2025 or further beyond, or he just falls out of love of racing or whatever, he's always got a career as a presenter on TV, or maybe even a commentator, because every time I wander around the paddock asking the riders to do some stupid little bits for social media and making up things that they kind of just don't want to do at like 9 a.m. in the morning, and he's just been like, just leave me alone, Lester. Because normally I'm like, okay, do this to the camera, and they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and this is the R&G British Talent Cup. That's how I'd feel first thing in the morning if I was being asked to do all that sort of stuff. But Harrison, he does it, and he seemingly loves it, and he's really good at it as well. So you've always got a second career as a presenter if you want it there. Just keep that under your hat. So there you go, just in case racing doesn't work out. Jay, Sport Bike Championship. We need to start making a list of who's actually announced that they're going to be in it.
So I only who are now. So
we'll put Harrison on the list, even though he's a maybe.
I know definitely one of them because he's already been racing it in the club series. He won the last race of the 300s on Sunday. I forgot his name.
God.
His dad is a mechanic for Shaky Burn as well. He runs number 67 in the Junior Supersport. Lewis is going to tell me.
Jacob Stevenson.
Oh, yeah.
Jacob Stevenson. He did come from Fab as well. So,
yes,
I definitely know he's been doing it because he's already been riding it at No Limits.
No Limits.
I also know a few other riders that are going to be in it. I can't mention names yet, though, so far.
Why not?
But I do
Can you mention classes? Is it mainly Junior Supersport riders?
Yes, there is a few other Junior Supersport riders. I also know someone who's dropping, well, should we say dropping down? It's not really dropping down. Someone from Stock 600s as well. I know of a few names. Like I said, there is a rumour going around the paddock that John McGuinness will be on a Honda in it next year as well, because obviously they can use the Honda Hornet with fairings on it and things like that. So, yeah, I do know of a few people. We might see some other, shall we say, more experienced riders in it as well.
What we should do is maybe do like a Sky Sports transfer deadline day and have like who's announced and who's going to miss out and what I reckon it's going to be a massive grid because I'll just do. Yeah. Or maybe it's not.
I hope it is. I think a lot of people have been quite negative about this new class, shall we say, but I think I'm one of the people that, it is a shame to lose the Stock 600 class, but you got to move on with the times. No one buys 600s anymore for the road, and you have to match with
Jay, there's nothing wrong with the classic motorcycle, I'll tell you that for now. And talking about classic motorcycle racing, that leads us on very professionally, I have to say, thank you, to our next guest. It's Ben Robinson. Hello there, Ben. How are you doing?
Good evening, Lester, Lewis, Jamie. Nice to be here. Thank you for having us on. Really appreciate it. Yeah, really good. How are you all? Okay?
Not bad. I think as we were just discussing, we were all at Donington, enjoying the racing there. So just tell us then, Ben, well, what's your role involved in the Classic Racing Motorcycle Club? What do you actually do, and where were you at the weekend?
So I think the official term is probably general dog's body. Bit of everything here, there, but no, the actual role, I'm one of the clerks of the course for the club. I also sit on the committee and do all of the digital content, so all the Facebook, the Instagram, all of that kind of stuff, all the promo. All falls down to me. We were at Croft last weekend for our what we call the race of the year. So we do a couple of championship races on the Saturday, and then we have one long race on the Sunday that basically is a trophy cup race, if you will, as like a big end of season doodah. It's a pretty cool meeting. Really was cool.
Yeah, I mean, for those who haven't seen a CRMC race or been to or attended a race, you would have at least heard of the club. I mean, I'm probably one of those people. Well, I definitely am one of those people. I've never been to a meeting yet, Ben. I know you've been trying to drag me along to one. There's always next year. And so what have we been missing out on this year then?
Well, we've missed out on a hell of a lot, to be quite honest. We've had some really, really good championships. So we've got a load of club championships. I think we've got about 35 club championships altogether. that cater from everything from a classic 200cc all the way through post-classic 125, all the way currently up to post-classic 1300 stuff up to sort of 1986. What's really exciting is next year we're looking to extend our post-classic dates to accommodate the 400 Super Sports, 600 Super Sports and 750 Twins, and 750 Superbikes and 1000cc Twins. So nice. We're now moving to that next era, which is really exciting to do. But yeah, this year has been fantastic. We had, I think it was 15 championships that went down to the last round. So yeah, it was a really, really positive last round and a positive season all round.
Yeah, I was having a look at some of the grids, the entry lists going into Croft, and well, there was a couple of names that I recognise, actually, a few sort of journeymen who might also be racing elsewhere in other things as well that we might also know, but generally, so what type of sort of bikes might be eligible for the CRMC then? Let's say I'm a gentleman racer and I've not been racing for a while. What type of bikes can I come in with?
So we've got everything from sort of the Grand Prix thoroughbred stuff of the 1960s, so your Max Nortons, your Sealy G50s, all of that proper stuff from the 60s. Then we moved to the production stuff of sort of the 70s and the 80s. So one of our really good newcomer classes is the Superstock 400 class. So that allows sort of ZXR 400s, CBR 400s, things like that. We then moved to the production classes, which allow for FZ 600s and things of sort. And then we moved to sort of the stock stuff, which currently allows the early GSXR 750s, early VFR 750s. And then you go all the way up to the heavyweight superbike stuff, where we've got some beautiful 1260 Kawasaki's, some Suzuki XR69s will come and race with us. Basically, if you've got a bike that was raced in the era between sort of 1945 and currently about 1994, we're more than likely going to find a space for you.
Wow. So quite the range there.
Absolutely. It isn't just your standard R6s, R1s. We've literally got a load of bikes. So even if you just come to the paddock, you can spend a day just walking around the paddock. We've also got sidecars as well. So we run classic front exit sidecars. So something for everyone.
Exactly. Well, Lewis, I know you've recently just hung up your helmet and leathers, but do you fancy having a go at maybe a classic race, a bit more, I know it's not knock-hill levels of excitement and thrill, but, it should, I'm sure it'll rival that.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly be interesting. Anyway, at Scotland, the class has almost died up here in Scotland, but at the Classic Motorcycles Club, it seems to have almost revived the class. While in Scotland, it's almost dead, and we only have a couple of bikes left in it, and that is the 400 class. Because up in Scotland, a couple of years ago, we had plenty of bikes on the grid. It was healthy grids, and now we only have one or two. And I believe it was only a couple of years ago that the 400 class got introduced down with you guys at the Classic Motorcycles Club. And well, certainly looking at the entry list over the past couple of rounds, they seem to have been doing pretty well number wise. So since the introduction of that class, how's the grids been growing for the 400 class?
As you say, the growth has been absolutely fantastic, and they've fitted in really well with our production class, which, due to some issues with some tyres not being available, has sort of dwindled a bit, unfortunately, but the stock 400 has really taken over from that. This year in particular, we've had a really, really close championship in that championship at the front as well. Chap called Graham Higlett, who used to race 400s with Bemsey, came along and tried to take on the young gun of Joe Woodward. That all went down to Croft. I think it was 12 points in it going into Croft. Joe won it. Joe's better in the wet, and it absolutely poured it down on Saturday afternoon. So Joe won the championship, but it was an absolutely fantastic championship all the way through. Roughly 25 stock 400 bikes out that were mixing really well in with the production 600 class. So yeah, it's been a really, really good and up and coming class for people to get involved in.
And obviously with modern day racing, even at club level or British Superbikes, you would have to say the likes of the Superbike class obviously would be the highlight of many riders' weekends and many fans' weekends. Whenever they're going into that class, they really want to see the most. So in your opinion, what's kind of the highlight class of the weekend for anyone who's going to come down and watch? What's like the class that everyone is looking forward to?
I think we've got a couple, and both of them are our national championships. The first one is the ACU Classic Championship, which caters for all of the thoroughbred racing machines from the 60s, the likes that Jeff Duke would go against Agostini on. It was absolutely fantastic. So we've got two classes in the ACU Classic Championship. The 500cc, which, as I say, is for your Manx Nortons, all of that kind of stuff. That went down to Croft. We had 9 points between Joe Barton and Adrian Hunter. It's a cracking race all the way through. Joe managed to fly off, but it was the battle really for fourth that was fantastic. So there's battles all the way down in every single one of our races, and that battle was between David Tetley, Will Loader and Jamie O'Brien all the way through 12 laps of Croft. So we're not doing silly small Mickey Mouse races. We are doing long distance, nearly 30-mile races on these things. Wow. So that really is a fantastic race to watch. But as you say, the Superbikes are also a really, really exciting thing to watch, and we have both what we call a Moto Superbike class, which is our club class, and we've also got the ACU Post Classic, which is where you can find a Yamaha TZ350 racing up against a VFR 750 racing up against a 1260 Kawasaki. It was an XR69 that won at Croft. Anthony Hart came along, and he's been doing really well on that. He's notoriously not very well at starting, not very good at starting, hasn't ever been able to do that. So John Dieterman, whose name you've probably heard before from Thundersport's golden era, he came along on his OU28. Got the pace to start off with, but then Anthony Hart sort of just pulled it forward and managed to take the victory over 12 laps as well. So yeah, there's a mix of everything for everyone, but the highlights definitely for me are the Classic 500 class and the Moto Superbike classes.
And well, you mentioned a couple of times there, actually, with the Thundersport riders that have came over, and obviously Thundersport, they finished their final season last year, sadly. So since obviously that club sadly no longer exists and no longer is racing, have you seen an increase in numbers of racers, or have you seen perhaps maybe a different and potentially more younger riders come into race with you guys with Thundersport no longer racing?
Definitely, we've got our age range ages, so we've got ages sort of from 17 all the way up to 77 or something like that. But yeah, we've got a number of young riders that have either come across from a different club. A real standout rider for us is Curtis Butler, who used to race with North Gloucester and Bemsey, doing really well on his FZ 750 till he fractured his femur at Anglesey, so that was a real shame he wasn't out at Croft. But yeah, we've got if I just name a few, we've got Dean Widowson, who's doing really well in our Super Mono class, and also races a 350. I've already mentioned Joe Woodward, and then we've got a couple of females as well, Kelsey Carter and Vicky Hose, who are just starting out their racing careers with us, and Seb Perez Jr., who is the son of Sebastian Perez, is currently parading a lovely 350 matchless with us on occasion. But we've managed to churn out a few really, really good younger riders that have gone on to British Championship levels. So the likes of Matt and Harry Truelove first came through us racing RS 125s and MT 125s with us. So it's a really, really good place to either start your racing career, or to, if you've been in a British Championship and maybe you're looking for something that's a little bit more affordable, it's a really nice place to come as well.
Well, there you go, Jay. There's a few more options for you now. Once your pit bike career as Pit Bike Sonic sort of comes to its natural conclusion.
Well, that's kind of going on my question, really. I was obviously from the days when I make it sound like I'm really old, but you mentioned that the bikes go all the way up to 1994 now in classic racing, so that does make me feel old. But yeah, like before, obviously, British Talent Cup, even though they're roughly the same bikes now, obviously, it was GP 125s before then, 2 strokes. And obviously, all us guys, we work at Fab Racing, and they're one of the few classes now that keep the 2 strokes running with the Metro kits. Do you get a lot of the old GP 125s? Because that is something I would have really loved to race back in the day. I did used to race a Aprilia 125 2-strokes, but I never got the chance to ride a GP 125 2-stroke. I still think it's a brilliant bike for youngsters to learn on. So do you get many of the GP 125s there?
We're not quite at that stage yet, to be quite honest. We're sort of at the stage before that, so we're slowly moving our 125 class forward. Our 125 class currently is everything from the piston port Honda MT 125s all the way up to sort of 1990, 1991. So just before they all start to get a bit trick. So we've got the MT 125s, a piston port. Then we've got the RS 125s, and then we've had Dan Sale testing out one of the newer style, well, not newer, but newer for us style.
I know.
125s with us this year as well. So yeah, it's a class that's really coming back. Where we go with it is a story for a different time. But yeah, at the moment, it's a really healthy, really strong class.
I believe North Gloucester used to run a British GP 250 championship. It'd be great to see some of those bikes having their own class again. I don't know if North Gloucester still do that, but it'd be great to see some of the GP 250s. I know GP 125s and GP 250s, they're extremely expensive to run, but it'd be great to see someone, especially like you guys, have a class for them again.
We to be honest, North Gloucester do run a lot of two-stroke stuff, and it's sort of the next stuff on from us. We don't run slick tyres at the Classic Club, you see, so that's sort of people that want to race the two-strokes of that kind of caliber, if you will, don't really want to come to us. We tend to cater more for sort of the Yamaha TZ250s, the Yamaha TZ350s, even things like the Suzuki T500s that were raced back in the 70s and the 80s as well. So if you want that kind of stuff, absolutely, we are 100% the place to be. It is great.
Do you get a lot of people then who come to your championship who also go compete in the Classic TT as well? I do believe Dom Herberson, he comes competes in your championship, I believe. And obviously he's a well-known TT rider. So do you get a lot of people doing both?
We've had a few. Obviously, you mentioned Dom, who's probably one of our more successful riders. We've also got Alex Sinclair, who's raced with us for a long time, that usually goes over and does the Manx more than anything. Most of our guys, though, do tend to stick to the short circuit stuff. Those that do go and do the road stuff might go and do the classic races out in Belgium or in Germany or somewhere like that, or will go and do the pre-TT Classic on the Balaun course instead, or something like that.
Good stuff. We've had a couple of questions flood in since you've been on, and Ben Tolliday's been on and asking something about your shoulder. Is it okay now? I don't know. What's this? Sounds like a story behind that.
Yep. So there is a story here, and I asked him to be nice to me, and he's obviously decided not to be. So
well, we need to hear the story now. What's this?
Yeah, we'll go for story time. I'm in my role as general dog's body of the club. I found myself at Pembury a few years ago, starting a sidecar race. Now I used to race sidecars as well, so it makes it all the more convenient. We used to start on the flag rather than lights. So I went to start the race with the flag. I lifted the flag up. As I put the flag down, I thought I felt my whole upper arm tear, and it turns out that I dislocated my shoulder, dropping a flag, starting a sidecar race. So yeah, there's the story, straight down, and it hasn't been right since. So
yeah, that's not a very nice thing to have to dredge up. Ben, well, it's good to...
4 hours in Carmarthen Hospital later, and we were on the way back to the middle of the UK.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had a bit of a shoulder injury recently, but it's nothing as glamorous as flag waving. I think I slept on it wrong. But just age. So that was the next question I had for you, really, Ben. Costs. Now, a lot of people have a lot of choices, especially with, I think we're going to see quite a few in the club levels of things like No Limits, and even filtering through to your club as well. Some BSB refugees who still have a bike but nowhere to kind of race them, really. But how much then to enter like a full season with, let's say, the most recent bike that you allow in? Then what would be like the entry fees and costs?
To be quite honest, you can basically name your own costs. You don't have to go and splash out. If you want to go and splash out and run a really trick bike, then you can absolutely do that. But if you wanted to run, say, I'll use the example of a VFR 750, pick it up on eBay for $2,500-3,000, do a couple of bits to it. Entry fees for the season, probably somewhere around £2,000-2,500. All your spares, everything like that, you can probably go from not having a bike at all to having a full season's racing, probably for about $5,000 or $6,000. That's without any crash damage or anything like that. So it's on the more affordable end of the spectrum, I would say. You know, it doesn't mean to say that the experience is going to be any more budget at all. You know, we really do pride ourselves on a great experience for everyone. So yeah, probably $5,000 or $6,000 is probably what you can do it on pretty sensibly.
Okay, that's to me that sounds pretty decent. Lewis, I know you've raced at more recently at club racing level, Knockhill as well. Is that affordable, do you reckon? I'm trying to get Lewis on a bike here, racing something.
Trying to get me back racing again, there, Lester.
Well, you can't retire at 17. Come on.
Well, as you know, certainly. I certainly think as well, if you were going to race some of for example, I used to race an RS 125 myself, and you know, it's one of those bikes that you can get a long time. Even the 400s, you can get a long time out of things like tires and stuff. Which nowadays, with some of the tires, whenever you're going for like an SE1 front and back, you know, sometimes you just only get one weekend, if that, depending on what class you're on with modern day machines. So yeah, I definitely think it's more affordable, certainly than racing even like a middleweight club class nowadays, like racing a 650 or a 600. It's definitely going to be cheaper to go down the classic route. Obviously, as Ben said, it all depends on what bike you're racing. If you're going to race something like a 125, it's going to be far cheaper, and maybe less of a hassle than trying to race a 500 for the year. But yeah, no, definitely something else to look for. And Ben, looking into next season, is there any changes or any additions on the horizon, maybe with some changes to classes? Obviously, you mentioned there you're almost going into the next generation of machines in some of the classes, but is there going to be any changes in certain classes that you can talk about, or any changes in the calendar for next season?
Yeah, so we're really excited about the changes in the classes. I can only really give a top level overview, as the technical stuff still gets sorted out. But we're absolutely now looking at introducing wet tyres for our post-classic machines, which is the next step, and introducing, as I said earlier on, 3 new classes. So the 400 Super Sports will come in, the 600 Super Sport, which will incorporate 750 twins, and a 750 Superbike class, which will incorporate 1000cc twins. All of that, the bike has to be prior to the 31st of December 1994, but that'll sort of bring us to the next level. As I say, I can't go into much more on the classes because we're still working on the technicalities, but we're really excited to bring it to sort of like the next bit, if you will. Speak about the calendar very quickly. We released that, I think it was the Wednesday before Croft, so we've got 7 rounds for next year. We start off the week after Easter at Pembrey, which is quite a tradition for us, starting down in South Wales. Then we move to Darley Moor, so a little bit more central for everyone. Then we go in for a midsummer at Croft, so we're really excited to go and get some sunshine rather than some showers, fingers crossed, in the northeast. Then we've got an MSV triple header, so we go to Cadwell Park. Then we've got our feature event of the year, which is at Donington Park. That's the Classic Motorcycle Festival. We had Rory Skinner come last year and come and ride a Pulse 2-stroke round and have a play about. It was really fantastic. And we've got loads of other stuff that goes on at Donington. Then we go back to Alton Park next year for the first time in 5 years. And we're running that over the late August bank holiday weekend. So we're practicing on the Saturday. We'll have a day of rest on the Sunday, and then we're racing on bank holiday Monday. So that'll be absolutely fantastic. And then we finish our season, hopefully in sunshine, but you can never be sure. We finish our season at Anglesey. So
Anglesey,
we'll
sunshine.
See how that is.
Jeebus. Last 1,000 times I've been to Anglesey, I've almost got swept off into the sea. I'm sure it is a nice place on occasions, but yeah.
When the sun's shining, there's absolutely nowhere better. When it's horizontal rain and it's windy as anything, you'd rather be anywhere else.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, good luck with that one. Final question then, Ben, before we let you go, and thank you for coming on and sharing your passion with us this evening and your stories about your arms and flags. How can anyone get in touch with you? What do they need to do? Is there a website? Is there a phone number for anyone who wants to find out more information?
Yeah, so the best way to get us is through the website, crmc.co.uk, or if you just put CRMC into Google, straight away will come up as your first result. We're also on Facebook. Again, if you just put CRMC into Facebook, and likewise with Instagram, just stick CRMC into anything and we'll come up. We're a big green logo. Green is our main colour. So yeah, absolutely. Come and get in touch. Come and race with us in 2024 and hopefully you won't regret it.
Well, we'll look forward to keeping up to date with you and maybe even, dare I say it, maybe even get to watch some of the races either trackside or online.
That would be fantastic. Thank you very much.
I mean, there's that's next year stuff. Who knows? Ben, thank you very much for coming on, telling us all about the club and everything. And you've been more than welcome to come back and tell us more and stuff. So,
thank you very much. It's been fantastic. Lovely to meet you all. Take care and have a great off season.
Yeah. All right.
Cheers.
Thank you.
See you later.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right, so this is the Superbike Show. It's Motorsport Radio. Hello and welcome. If you've just joined us, well, you've missed out basically everything because you missed out on Harrison Dessoy. He's been here telling us about sport bike. Ben Robinson was just on there telling us about the Classic Motorcycle Racing Club or the Classic Racing Motorcycle Club. I always get them names mixed up and stuff. Classic bikes and stuff. So Jay, did that pique your interest? I noticed you was quite interested there. I just brought back well, it made me feel old, let's put it that way, thinking you're not old. No, you just
he used the phrase back in the day.
It makes me feel old now to think that a bike from 1994 is now in a classic bike race. So bikes that I used to watch people like Jamie Whitman, Carl Fogarty ride are now going to be in a classic bike race. It does make me feel a bit old. But yeah, in my head, that championship has the friendliest paddock in England. You can just imagine it's all people who they're not particularly, everyone wants to win, but they're out there to go out and ride their bikes that they really enjoy riding and just go out there and have a really good time. So in my mind, it's a paddock where everyone helps everyone and they're just having a good time riding a bike that they well and truly love.
Well, you know what we need to do, don't you? Is do a proper investigation, maybe go to an event.
Yeah.
And
maybe treat us all to a day out, Lester. You can buy us an ice cream.
Oh, I was thinking more on the lines of just, pitch a tent up and go to the pub there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
But
drinking
no offence.
Some old beer and things like that sort of thing that classic bike people do.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Real ales, stuff like that. I'm not being like stereotypical here. I'm sure there's
he's experienced of old people things.
I'm sure there's young athletes riding there as well.
Yeah, right. Okay. And the young people race the classic bikes as well.
Yeah, he did say. What did he say? 17 to 77, something like that. So it's. We were talking about the new sports bike class that there's going to be a big range of abilities. There's probably even bigger in their championship.
Yeah. But it's about having fun though, really, isn't it? It's not, like you say, it's not about the cutthroat.
Enjoy, it's there. Everyone's there really for the same thing, just enjoy racing. The way racing paddocks should be, to be fair. And as he said, if you have a bike that's within their age range, I believe 1945 to 1994 or something like that.
So any bike then?
So basically any bike, they'll fly the class for you, which is really great. And I'm actually really excited to hear as well that they're getting a Supersport 400 class next year, because although it's still going to be the older style 400s, I know a lot of people up here in Scotland, they raced the Supersport 400s. No one had a stock bike up in Scotland, so they would have to race down south to race with that club whenever the class got announced. They would have to undo every single little bit of work that they've done to their engine, to the bike, everything to go racing with the club. So now that they've got a Super Sport 400 class, it means it's going to be highly more accessible, and now potentially we could see a lot more Scottish racers that actually have their 400s still sitting in the garage collecting dust, and they'll be able to ride them again with this new class. So yeah, exciting stuff. And yeah, if you have a bike, go there and race it, or even if you're a fan and like to smell a two-stroke and want to reminisce, head over to one of the rounds next year, or head over to a very sunny Anglesey for the end of the season.
Yeah, do that.
Talking about classic two-strokes, there were quite a few at BSB this weekend in eBay stand.
Yes.
And I was at the Melbourne Loop just as they went out, and that smell was absolutely gorgeous.
A few classic or old TT bikes, I think.
Kenny Roberts' MotoGP or Grand Prix 500 was going round as well. That was very impressive to see as well.
Yeah, Kenny Roberts. I think Randy Momola's bike was there. There was a Tyrone McKenzie Red Bull Rookie bike.
When they were two strokes.
Yeah, when they were two strokes, even better. And Freddie Spencer's old 500 as well was there. So yeah, plenty of bikes. And plenty of lovely smells. Sadly, they didn't go out on the Sunday due to the torrential downpour. I don't think any of the owners of them classic bikes would wanted them to go out in the rain and in those pouring conditions. But it was incredible to see them back out. I was lucky enough to be at Knockhill earlier on in the year in Scottish Championship when they had, for example, Randy Momola's bike there with Randy Momola riding it. So yeah, once again, getting to see that bike in person, get the smell. The smell's a two-stroke. I believe BSB also did something similar at Brands Hatch when they had Neil McKenzie. I think Randy Momola there as well. So not the first time we've done it this year, but definitely more bikes this time that seemed. And yeah, I don't think any fans were complaining about the smell of two-stroke being around Donington Park once again.
There was a lot going on. There always is at Donington at every BSB event, and you should definitely check out the 2024 calendar when it is released.
Potentially Spain.
That's not been announced yet.
I heard it on BSB radio.
Oh, then it's been announced then.
No, but it's not been announced.
Not announced.
Just a rumor. On the grid, Larry Carter was doing interviews, and I forgot who it was off the top of my head. I believe it was in the Super Sport class, and he's been to one of the injured riders, asking when he would be back, and he said he'll be back next season at Navarra, probably Navarra. And Larry Carter's response to that was that might be a hint, or something along that line. So to me, it basically confirmed it in my head. So yeah, well, who knows? Potentially Spain.
There is growing speculation, Jay, that the first round of BSB, although not officially confirmed, there is as I say, quite a decent-sized rumour around the paddock. Well,
you'll get a nice holiday out of it, Lester, because that means British Talent Cup will be there, and you'll get a nice little holiday to Spain.
Not necessarily. Some people not necessarily looking forward to it. I mean, I'd love to go to Spain. As well, we said on the I think with the first show this year, Lewis, didn't we? We said that definitely, and it was just me making a prediction back then. The first round of BSB in 2024 would be Navarra, the Circuito di Navarra. And that seemed to prompt an avalanche of negativity and the usual tripe. No offence. That people say online. No, it's BSB, it's British Superbikes, not Surrender Monkey EU Superbikes. But why not? It's Spain, and it's probably going to be a lot like 100 degrees warmer than the UK, and you get to go to Spain, even though it's the north of Spain, so, you know, it's not too hot.
Not as hot.
But hey-ho. Yeah. So anyway, we're chalking that up to probably 99% sure of being a thing, subject to confirmation, because it's not been confirmed, although everyone seems to think it's pretty much nailed on, in the fact that MSV own Navarra, and it would make sense. Why the hell wouldn't they race at their own track? Because that's what they bought it for. So there you go. Yeah. So are you looking forward to a ride out in Spain? Are you going testing in Spain? Are you going to Navarra? Are you going to go to the first BSB race of the season? If it is, indeed, it probably will be the first BSB race, which might mean a bit of calendar shuffling, because I was on the Silverstone website just yesterday, and they seem to think that they're the first round in mid-April. So maybe no one's told Silverstone just yet. Let them sort it out between each other. But yeah, looking forward to the Navarra. What do you reckon, Jay? Navarra?
I haven't personally even watched any onboards of the track or even really know what it looks like. I know they did their first test there at the start of this season. It seemed to get a lot of good reviews, so I'm not against going to a different country. I quite liked it when they went to Assen. But I would prefer it. I know there's problems around the track, but we were just speaking about earlier. I would prefer it if they went to Anglesey. Look, I knew he was going to pull that funny face. Yeah, but it is in this country.
Yeah.
So
it's a great circuit.
Anglesey's a really, really good track. It's just the problem with I believe it's the roads in and out of the track.
The roads, the problems, the rain,
facilities,
the storms,
weather.
But the actual track is a very good track.
If only you could take a good track and put it in somewhere nice. Somewhere, I don't know,
what
like
you've
Spain.
Got against Wales?
Nothing. I actually like Anglesey. It's one of the most picturesque tracks that we've got in the UK. It's just that, as I said, every single time I've ever been there, bar about one time, I've got absolutely drowned and windswept to within an inch of my life. And, yeah. So...
But yeah, Navarra, if it happens, yeah, perfectly good. But I am kind of with the people it's a British Superbike Championship, so.
Oof.
British Superbikes.
But you did just say you were fine with Assen.
Yeah, Assen. It's because Assen is you only have to go across the water, don't you? And where Spain's a bit of more of a trek, innit? A lot of British fans do go watch at Assen because it's easy.
Let us know what you think. Get in touch and have your say.
A lot of people will agree with me.
So, Jay, I guess with your years of experience of not going pre-season testing on mini motos or pit bikes over in Spain, I guess that would be all new to you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Fab's first round should definitely be at karting finish track.
Yeah, but not BSB, though, because that's, British.
No, definitely not. No, the first round of Fab should
Here's an idea. Why don't, when BSB officially announced that they're going to Navarra for the first round, why don't everyone go the week before and do their pit bike racing at wherever it is, their annual get-together. We've not done one for a few years since COVID and whatnot. And then you can sort of mosey on across the country to, I don't know where it is based and stuff, how far it is, but you can kind of, mooch along and watch the first BSB race. There's an idea.
Yeah. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Yeah.
There you go. Bringing people together.
You've got it all worked out, Lester.
Yeah, it's almost like I said exactly this would happen. Anyway, moving back to the racing.
We've got to talk about MotoGP.
MotoGP, we've not even talked about that.
The small matter.
Everything else. So, MotoGP, Lewis, and go on then.
Moto3 first.
Yeah, we'll start. Okay, we'll start Moto3 then.
Okay, Moto3 then. Yeah, go on then.
Build our way up. Jamie Messia on the Leopard Honda won the race at Honda's home round with at his home round. Amuse Sasaki. He finished in second place with Danny Holgado in third. Now, in the British terms, at the weekend, Scott Ogden and Josh Watley were down in 18th and 20th. Sadly, no points scored for the Brits in the Moto3 class. But Messia's win at the weekend meant, and his pole position and his win meant that he was able to take the championship lead, and now he leads away by just 6 points. So still Moto3 as close as ever, and still you cannot write it. And as well, in Moto3 news anyway, and it's once again with Sasaki, who finished second place at the weekend. Sasaki will be moving up to the VR46 Master Camp team in Moto2 next season. So great as well for him. And as well, a little bit of news actually that I've seen throughout the week. I believe I'll actually have to have a quick look at the riders, but I believe off the top of my head, Joe Kelso is one of them. They got disqualified from the last round of Moto3 for using the wrong oil inside their machines. But that has nothing to do with Japanese Grand Prix. That was just to do with the last round. But at the Japanese round, Masia on top in the race and the championship standings. So there you go. In case you're wondering, I didn't have time to watch the Moto3 at the weekend. So, yeah, I was busy enjoying BSB and sleeping and stuff and catching up. Actually, the first thing I did when I got back home, actually, was go back and watch the 10-second out of sync BSB coverage on the Discovery Plus app. So, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, well, I saw it before I heard it. Sorry, I shouldn't slag out. I mean, yeah. Anyway.
Or heard it before you saw it.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, I didn't actually have time to watch Moto3 because I passed out after then. And there you go. So, yeah, Jay, overall, your thoughts on Moto3 at the weekend?
Quite, let's not say boring, because a Moto3 race is
uneventful.
Boring. Yeah, for a Moto3 race, it was kind of quiet. It weren't British Superbike's second race, let's put it that way. But, yeah, Masia's kind of hit a bit of form lately. He's definitely, the Honda's not the bike to be on, not by a long shot, but he's definitely riding the wheels off it. But it was very rare that we actually saw like top three in the championship. Well, I think they're top three, Halgado, Sasaki and Masia, actually in the top three of the race. Normally we have one that's either broken down, crashed, or having to do a long lap. So yeah, Dennis Onchu kind of was the reason the race kind of spread out, because he was doing some kind of stupid moves on Sasaki and Halgado, and he just let Masia get away. So yeah, they were probably the
Jay's eyesight
eventually did crash because of his stupid moves. So yeah, that was kind of the talking moments of Moto3 really.
There you go. You did briefly mention Josh and Scott. What happened to them? Anything, or was it just a learning weekend? Nothing. Yeah, a learning weekend. From, of course, it would have been their second time racing at Motegi. So 18th and 20th for them. So uneventful race, finishing in 18th and 20th place for the Brits. Really, I mean, I guess in some sort of good way. It wasn't as bad as the Indian Grand Prix weekend, so it was an upgrade for the Brits this time around, because it couldn't really get any worse with only one rider finishing in India. Already, just in Moto3, we're doing better than that with both Ogden and Watley, seeing the checkered flag at least. What's the, just before we talk about Moto2, what's the contract situation with Scott Ogden? Has he definitely confirmed he's staying with that team for next year? Well, it sounds like officially that he is going to be remaining with the team. It just hasn't been announced by the team as of yet. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if I'd missed an announcement or something. Yeah, nothing's been said as of yet. But I have heard from strong sources that he has potentially signed for next season, but no word on Josh as a no yet. Well, I
think there's talks of a new Honda Moto3 for next season as well. There's some upgrades because I thought that was definitely happening. Or was it just a rumor? They definitely fell behind on the KTM.
Yeah, they had a meeting at Motegi as well, I believe, with all the Honda teams to discuss next year's package. Okay. So, yeah, we did kind of speculate along the lines of, well, we probably think that Scott and Josh are going to stick with the team now that they're both sort of bedded in there. They've both got a good, everyone knows what everyone's doing. Having
basically flung each other together in a team when it started out. They've got, a season, they've got a bit of experience behind them. And I think one more year as that team together, I think that would benefit everyone, especially if they get a brand new bike as well. So don't be at all surprised to hear a confirmation from Scott Ogden anytime soon, probably first thing in the morning or just after we've gone off air, as is usually the case, that he'll be staying with the team, but nothing announced yet. Right.
Talking about us missing news by one night, we did actually miss last week. I remember waking up to it, that Danny Kent has replaced Jack Kennedy in the Martrain Yamaha team in BSB.
For next year?
Yes, for next year.
Yeah. Pretty sure we'll do
I think that's a pretty good ride for the team and Danny.
Yeah.
Well, get to the start of next year first before.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the package is like. But Danny Kent, great at least to see him on the grid once again. I believe I've heard as well that Danny Buchan, he's going to be in green next year, to say the least, with potentially Dow. That we might be running two machines next year, but obviously that all unconfirmed at the moment. But I heard some strong rumours at the weekend anyway.
Weren't you a guest of that team at the weekend?
Yes, I think so.
Anyone walking around Donington would have seen Lewis wearing a
strong rumours,
a Dow racing jacket.
Confirm.
And then suddenly he comes out with, we've heard from unconfirmed rumours, secret sources.
Wow.
So
I remember now. He was wearing one of those jackets.
Yeah, he was. And then it suddenly comes out with a golden nugget about Dow Racing, maybe. So they're going to have two bikes on the grid then, are they? Okay.
We've gone off topic.
Yeah, sorry. Moto 3.
Let's get back to Moto 3.
Yeah.
Talking about signings, though, somewhat getting back on topic. Riccardo Rossi for next season has signed for the CF Moto Bristol GP Moto 3 team next year. Oh, yeah. So he'll be switching to basically KTM machinery. Seems to be, well, obviously depends what Honda bring to next year, but certainly this year's terms, it's a upgrade package wise for him, so it's going to be interesting to see what Riccardo Rossi can do. And it was the Catalonian Grand Prix that Ivan Ortola and Joe Kelso was disqualified from the qualifying in the race due to using the wrong oil in their machines. But I believe as well that's also came out to be somewhat of the team's or KTM's problems, because they were using them as test machines at the Catalonia test. They're using test oil in the machine that wasn't meant for racing, and they hadn't cleaned them out properly, so they were disqualified from that one. And Riccardo Rossi, I don't know if he'll be teaming up with Joe Kelso or replacing Joe Kelso next year at the CF Moto team. We're going to have to wait and see.
Oh, right. Moving on, we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. Moto 2 then, Lewis.
Moto 2, it was a Honda Team Asia 1-2 with Somkiat Chantra and Ayagura taking the first and second steps on the podium. So Chantra winning and Ayagura second, with Pedro Acosta still on the podium once again in third. He finished ahead of Jake Dixon, who had a rather good weekend for him. Fourth position, didn't get taken out by Alonso Lopez this time around, so I'm sure Jay, you'll be pretty happy about that one. But a consistent result for Jake Dixon, and he went back from his qualifying position, but still consistently being at the front.
Yeah, I mentioned a few weeks ago that I think that the mark of a rider who's probably set for a MotoGP ride is when you start showing that consistency, like what Jake is doing at the moment, rather than what we tend to kind of do as Brits, get really excited if someone finishes on the podium once and then they're at the back of the grid or they're all over the place for the rest of the season. But that basically how but it looks like Jake Dixon might be breaking that trend and actually put together a decent run of form. I don't want to jinx him anymore, so thoughts on Moto 2, Jay?
It was a really good round for, shall we say, the local team. The Japanese, I think they call themselves, I think they call this even those Triumphs. I think it's classed as a Honda team, isn't it, or something like that. So really good home round for them. Tantra's going to be really happy because it's his home round next, isn't it? So he's gone into that with a load of confidence now. Pedro Acosta, he's really put his foot on the championship now because it was another bad round for Arbolino. And a good comeback ride, should we say, for Jake after a few not so lucky rounds, shall we say. So to be able to get back on a good solid 4th place, bit like the Moto3 race, quite uneventful though for a Moto2 race.
Fair enough. And moving on then to MotoGP, and
this is where it gets exciting.
Lewis, main headlines.
Well, first of all, before the weekend, talking about Brits, Cal Crutchlow was on the grid in the MotoGP class. He was riding on a Yamaha at the weekend for the Yamalube RS4 GP racing team. So he was back on the grid as their test rider at Yamaha's home round. But while in the races, Jorge Martin won both the MotoGP sprint and the main race on the Sunday, with Pecco Bagnaglia's championship lead down just to 3 points going into Thailand.
It's almost like BSB.
Yeah, exactly. It's as close as ever. Actually, right now it's technically closer than BSB, but still plenty of rounds to go to decide that. Marc Marquez in the race. He was on the podium for the first time this year in a main Sunday race. So it's technically his first podium of the season. And as well, Marquez Gresini saga continues once again with Fabio Di Giannantonio sounding basically confirmed it to Sky Sports Italy that he has signed. He's just trying to get out of of his Honda contract. But in MotoGP, extremely exciting race because on the Sunday it was a flag to flag race with rain falling on the formation lap of the Grand Prix. Everyone starting the race on slicks, pitting at the end of lap 1, changing onto the wet tyres, and it was extremely exciting. The race eventually, sadly, I must have been about halfway into the race, it got red flags, and the rain and the daylight was closing pretty bad, and because of that the rest of the race got called off, and full championship points was most importantly awarded due to the fact that over 50% of the race had been completed. So full championship points awarded for I've forgotten how many laps it must have run, but anyway, for not a full race. So extremely dramatic stuff in MotoGP, and only 2 DNFs really came off that race. So Johan Zarco and Brad Binder DNF and not able to make the restart of the Grand Prix.
Thoughts on MotoGP, Jay?
Bit of everything, weren't it? Starting off, should we say starting off dry? It didn't really start off dry.
No.
It was quite exciting seeing. I don't normally we see like 5 or 6 go in one lap, then like 2 or 3 go in the next, but they literally, apart from 2 or 3, all went into the pits together, and it was chaos going into the pits. So obviously for me, great to see Marquez back on the podium. He really is dragging out this whole is he going, isn't he going?
I was sick of it now, to be honest.
Pardon?
Sick of it.
Oh, I to be honest with you, I am a little bit now. I kind of just want to know if he is or if he isn't. It's like it's dragging a lot now. Until Lewis had just told me that, which I didn't know. With Digi saying that, I was kind of getting to the thing now where it's been so long, he's probably going to stay now. But obviously, my mind's been changed again now. So
I think we'll find out next Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah. But yeah, Cal Crutchlow came out with some interesting things, didn't he? He kind of said to everyone, if Marquez goes to Ducati, there's no point of anyone else turning up, really. So that's quite a big, bold statement. Even though I think Marquez will be extremely strong on the Ducati, I don't think he's going to be running away by 10 seconds in every race. But Cal Crutchlow seemed to think that.
One thing as well, what quickly add, because I did just basically say a load of crap. It wasn't Digi, it was Gigi Delinea that said it. And the exact quote, I'll quickly read it out because it's not too long, is that he has decided to leave Honda for an unofficial Ducati. All the more this underlines the fact that he wants our bike, but clearly there isn't an official announcement yet. I think a lot of it is to do with how complicated his contract is to break, and that was Gigi Dall'Igna speaking to Sky Sports Italy at the weekend.
There you go. So you heard it wherever you heard it, on TNT or here, wherever.
I don't think it's just getting out of Honda. I think he has like contracts with Repsol. I think he obviously has the Red Bull as well background. I'm trying to think.
Well, we
don't see many Red Bull riders with Ducati, do you? The majority.
Yeah, well, the factory team's obviously sponsored by Monster Energy, but yeah. I believe Alex Marquez still has his Red Bull sponsorship.
Well, we did speculate that maybe if he is, going, and it almost seems 100% likely that he is, would it be some sort of kind of team ownership, shareholding type thing? And maybe that's what the extended delay on the announcement is, crossing the T's and dotting the I's and all that sort of stuff.
It's not going to be an easy contract to get out of it, is it, that Honda one? So there's a lot of things to sort out. Okay, so just before we as I said, we're really short on time, so we unfortunately can't talk about World Superbikes, because before we go, I wanted to ask this question, well, on behalf of Mr. Christian Chamberlain, who's been chiming in tonight. I don't know if he's been on the wine or not, but he says... He says, according to him, he wanted our thoughts on the, quote, disastrous decision to pull the Stock 600 Championship in Junior Supersport, the two most competitive classes in the series, removing the key stepping stones for so many into World Championships. And also Christian says, excuse me, I said that. Christian said... what are your opinions, guys, on the rumours about Navarra? I think we've already talked about that. And also, no Cadwell next year in BSB. It's not the first time we've heard that rumour.
Yeah.
So it seems to be gaining traction, that Cadwell thing.
See, this one thing I do want to quickly mention about the whole Cadwell rumours is... I actually don't understand in my head anyway why, for example, obviously the calendar's not being announced yet, but why we need to remove any circuits from the calendar ever, to be honest, at the moment, because even if we do go to Navarra, I mean, we go to Donington Park and Alton Park twice in a year, so just take away one of them rounds. I don't understand why we would need to...
I understand Donington
any races.
You can make two different tracks out.
Yeah, but this season we used the GP twice, did we not?
No, the national...
Yeah, we used GP twice instead of using the national.
We've not used the national this year.
Are we talking about Donington?
Yeah, Donington.
No, the first time it was the national, I'm sure it was.
No, because the second time, no, I'm pretty sure the first time it was GP. Yeah, it was. I'm looking at the championship scoring. So the first one was GP, and then on their website it said the second round, which we just had, was meant to be done at national. But then they changed it on their website after this first visit to Donington Park to GP on their website, because we spoke about it on the show.
You'd think I'd know, because I was there. I was there for both of them, but I don't remember.
Yeah, but so two GP circuits, even Alton Park, I mean, we went there twice as well in the season. Obviously, some changeabouts of classes being there, but unless maybe they're planning on doing some big improvements to Cadwell. Maybe it's Cadwell's decision to take a year out and extend the circuit, extend runoffs, make the circuit maybe a little bit wider in some sections. Who knows?
It is just a rumour, and
I hope it's not a true rumour.
Yeah,
that is. I know a lot of riders don't like it, but it is a, what should we say, kind of like Mugello to MotoGP. It's an iconic round, isn't it?
Yeah, and like you say, if it's a matter of squeezing more tracks into the existing calendar, i.e. not extending it to more races, then yeah, drop a Donington round. Or we used to have 3 races at Brands Hatch, if you remember, just a couple of years ago. So yeah, and now it looks like we're going to Navarra, and Yeah.
Yeah. But we have 2 rounds at Brands Hatch as well still, so we could even chop one of them off.
And we've also got Anglesey just waiting for BSB to.
Okay, it's getting on a bit. And,
you can tell it's 10 o'clock. It's past when we should be finishing.
Nicely ignored about the controversial.
There's also Mallory Park.
Oh, that's dead and buried. That's pretty much gone.
Who knows? Maybe we could see Pembury.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Have they got? Is Rockingham still there, or have they knocked that down now?
What?
I think it's there in some sorts, Rockingham, but there's loads of cars parked on it at the moment.
Oh well, yeah. Move them. We've got another one there.
Right. Anyway, so while we think of more fantasy racetracks to go to in BSB,
fantasy.
Yeah, you just mentioned going to Rockingham, for God's sake.
Legend Hill for the final round.
Move the lorries off the track.
Anyway, so yeah, probably heading to Navarra. We don't have an opinion on anything that we've not already said about the classes that are being dropped in BSB or replaced for potentially something better. And as for the Cadwell Park being dropped rumour, well, we don't think that's probably going to happen.
We definitely don't want it.
No.
To happen.
No.
Not all 3 of us agree on much, but we agree on that.
Yeah, partly for the fact I've not actually been to a BSB meeting at Cadwell yet. I've been to lots of other
incredible
Cadwell meetings and cars and other sorts of rubbish events, but not BSB. So I've yet to do that just anyway. So Jay, thank you very much for coming on the show. We've not really even talked about what's coming up this weekend, but it's Junior GP, European Talent Cup, Moto2 at Aragon with Evan Belford, the new British Talent Cup champion and selected rider, already confirmed to race in the 2024 Red Bull Rookies Cup. Congratulations, Evan. You've absolutely deserved it. Anyway, he's going to be racing with Vision Track as a wild card round, for the last 2 rounds this weekend. And there's also No Limits, their final round at Donington Park, which we spoke about the other week. And also the final round at Fab Racing in the Minibikes British Championship, where, Jay... The main event, yes. We will see new champions crowned, including, Lewis, a very thrilling end to, for the first time that I can ever remember, the sidecars, the mini F1 sidecars.
Yeah, it's going to be a thrilling end to the season. It's the championship still up for grabs between Mick Williams and the Green Streets going into the final round. The main class as well, the LS2 helmets, Mini GP70, British Championship is still up for grabs as well. 4 people, are in the point scoring positions for that. One, a couple more classes, including the motor team. But it's going to be exciting this weekend at Fab. But remember, if you're going to watch it on Motorsport Radio or the Fab Racing YouTube and Facebook channels, it's going to be live streamed on the Friday and the Saturday and will not be on the Sunday. Keep in mind with that one, it's kind of confusing, but we're racing and live streaming on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. Check it out. It's Three Sisters, the racetrack, and we'll be live on the Friday and the Saturday, which means I have to leave on the Wednesday tomorrow morning. And you're already packed. So so you've already got the beers in.
I've got to finish packing once we're off here.
Exactly. And that's we're going to basically why we're not racing on the Sunday. There are some other events on, but doesn't really matter because it just means that we can all go for a massive piss up in Wigan on the Saturday night. Isn't that right, Jay?
Yes, can't wait.
Exactly. Right, thank you very much for tuning in. Jay, thank you for coming on the show again. Lewis, thank you very much. I'll see you on Thursday and tune in live for our race coverage of the Road to MotoGP Championship Fab Racing this Friday and Saturday right here on Motorsport Radio. Bye!
This is Motorsport Radio.
1, 2.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook and on our website. Motorsport Radio.